It's wonderful to meet again. We've met several times now in the last few days. I think this is the fifth time we're meeting. And so now it should be very, very clear that this is not a process of information, of talks and lectures. It's just a stimulation, help to get up and get going on listening inwardly to what is really happening in your life. To listen at that depth, we need really, if we possibly can, to be alone, to be still, not to be doing the washing up or cleaning the garden, to be still, alone, to have silence, and to be able to listen to the depth of life within myself, my own being. And these themes, this is the fourth today, the themes are not for information, that just give us a push in the right direction for our listening. And we gave an overall title to these days of reflection of the challenge to change. Change, which goes on at every level all the time, is a huge challenge to the way we live our life. And so this is the theme of these 4 days, and each one has got its own theme. The first one was the challenge of time. Now you can see we know all about time, and this is the problem. We've made time be our servant. We put our clocks backwards and forwards here in Europe, as they do in the United States, and say, we'll have an hour longer darkness and longer light in the evening. Nonsense. No, we're not changing the climate. We're not changing the hours of light and darkness. We're changing the little mechanical clocks that we have made. Now we know this, but face it, we think that we know what time is about. We've looked back in history, hundreds of years, thousands of years, and we're sure we know what we're talking about. Time, we think, is ours. Time. Time is really a challenge. The time is not under our control. How often do you change? This is perhaps the theme of this day and this week. How often do I change on my journey? Well, about every millisecond. We are not static. We're not totally still. We are on a journey. Life is a journey. It's movement. It begins and it ends. And in the meantime, we are moving, changing every millisecond. Makes a difference. If you've given yourself a little time in the silence and the stillness to think of your life's changes, not in hours or months or days or big events or even years, but as a constant. Time reminds us that we are moving and we are changing all the time. So that is really a very big challenge. One of the ways we forget this challenge is by thinking we have control over the past. This happened and this was the result. And I can put the time that happened against the time that something else happened. I wonder how much challenge you have had this week by allowing yourself to realize that time is a constant movement, steady, and I am changing all the time. Okay. Another challenge we've had very forcibly recently, actually just about a year ago, December the 25th last year. Yes, Christmas Day last year, we launched the Space Telescope. Amazing. Where was that telescope going to go? It had taken, some reports tell us it took 20 years to produce. Others tell us it only took 30 years to produce, or the other way around. But it was an international effort. Scientists, technicians from many different countries working together for many years, because 20 or 30 years is much in a lifespan, to produce a spacecraft and a telescope that could take photographs in space and send them back to Earth now. And that happened. Yes, we know the James Webb Space Telescope was launched a year ago and took about roughly 6 months, flying at the most incredible speed. I hope you can remember it. I can't, but it has been recorded, until it got to a point where we estimate the creation process for our planet began. Ambitious, to say the least of it, but we did it. The telescope got there. It took that length of time. And what has it done? It sent us back incredible photographs. One of the most recent ones you can probably remember, sending us new photographs of what are called the pillars of creation. We wanted to be there and see how creation of this planet, of this universe, began and how. And so we have the pillars of creation photographs, columns of dust and gas, and we're told, but also which contain colors which no human eye has ever seen before. That's one thing. Pillars of creation, where creation began. If you haven't looked very carefully at those photographs, remember, they're not imagination, they are photographs of where we think the creation of this universe began. Well, question mark. We'd like to think that we've succeeded in getting an answer to that, because after all, as human beings, we really do like to think we control everything. One thing that the exploration of space at this level, distance, dimension, has done for us is enhanced our belief, our conviction, not belief, but conviction, that we can control everything. Because after all, we own it. We haven't, of course, created it, and we know a little about it, but we tend to act as though that gives us ownership, that we own it. what do we really know about space? This event nearly a year ago, where we landed, that we think must be the beginnings of creation of the universe as we know it, that gives a feeling that we are really in control. We own. And we know that for the whole of our lifespan, humanity's lifespan, I mean, that sense of control has been a great danger, because we're constantly being reminded also that we cannot create. As we got in the Vedas, the ancient scriptures, we cannot even burn or destroy a piece of straw. It's not our power. We do not have the power. We did not create, therefore we cannot control. That is perhaps the greatest head-on challenge for any one of us today on planet Earth, to really give up the idea that I am in control, that the scientists, the physicists, the technicians can produce anything they want and can control the outcome. And we know clearly that we do not. And so I wonder what you did with that theme, where you saw this false idea of being in control and that your decisions are going to be the ones that are carried out. I wonder where you went with that one. And now here we are. So if we are not in control, and we did not create and cannot create, is there some being that has the control and has created all that we now know exists, with the possibility of everything that we don't know, which also exists? Is there, in fact, a creator? That is the basic question. If we don't control, we cannot create, we cannot bring out of the void, out of nothing, into existence. Then is there a creator? Now, for centuries upon centuries, which is a very short space of time, as human beings, we have told ourselves that we are the creator, or we know the creator. We've given the creator a form and images and a way of acting which is very much like our own human way of acting, emotionality, in other words, and intelligence that works the way that ours works. Now, where are we? We are now, and this is the biggest challenge, or rather all the challenges are big, but we're getting to this one now, that we are now living life's journey and we're carrying on an open road. You see, we've rather relied on maps that other people have drawn for us. Maps and images and advice that sometimes our great mystics, not mystics, I shouldn't have used the word, we use it incorrectly like so many others, but where the ones we have called saints, people who have more understanding and more power over creation than we have. We're challenged by an open road. So far, we've relied on their teaching, their experience. The descriptions and the advice. You must turn left here, you must avoid that, you must go forward here. This is what all the traditional religious traditions have been about, giving us information as to how we can follow the one who alone creates. God is the word we've used in many different languages. The one reality that controls because it can create and we can't. Now we have all the information that we've already had, the maps, the guidelines, the sets of instructions, the religious traditions. We still have them. But now we know that they are helps, that the one who alone is, the one who brought everything out of the void into existence. Such a one cannot be reduced to what we can produce in our imagination. This is an enormous challenge, an enormous challenge. It takes us right back to the fact that we have to experience and realize that as a human being, we are both body, physical creation, psyche, mind, imagination, intelligence, body, psyche, and question mark, spirit. We call it spirit. And we are also ultimately of the power of the one who alone creates. Now, we do need to spend time with this. And by the time, I mean not worrying over the words or the ideas, but listening deeply within yourself. Listening deeply within yourself. Even though the signposts are there, the traditions are still there. The road before us is open. We have to travel, each one, an individual path of life. Nobody can travel your life. You can't travel anybody else's. I can't, you can't. There is the one who alone who exists. I'm avoiding using the word God because we've decorated that word with all sorts of things from our imagination. Now we're challenged to be silent and to let the reality come alive within us. That means come alive in our minds and our emotions. The mystery that this is to a mind and emotional life. That mystery to take over. Well, it is in charge, but we recognize it, the mystery. So that's where our journey of 4 days is taking us. It most certainly isn't over. It's a challenge to get up and go on and to walk the open road of life, listening deeply and being caught up in the mystery that we hear within. with confidence. That's a very big challenge. That's the one that faces all of us at this moment. I have been saying to many people, and to anyone we talk to, and about this, and also I think I mentioned it on the videos here. I said to you, if you have grandchildren around you, yours or anybody else's, try and get out there and talk to them. When they're starting out life with this information and these challenges, they can have much to tell us, which we don't know yet ourselves. And having said that, go and talk to youth. Go and talk to the grandchildren. Find out how they see the world and the future. And having said that now for many groups for some time, this morning's this morning's announcement on the BBC television, British Broadcasting Television, it came the statistic that somebody's research has proved that 70% of people, young people around about 16 years of age in the UK, guess what? Are not where we were. And they are facing the challenges and they are frightened. It's not the type frightened by what Putin had for breakfast or whether the President of the United States will get on with the President of China. They're seeing the road as an open road when they're frightened. So go and listen to them and learn. And you may be able to share something of your inner life journey too. We're all pilgrims, we're all travelers on life's journey. And one of the most important tasks we have is to support and help each other. And so, with this 5th day, I wish you a wonderful journey ahead. A wonderful journey. But remember, it's not the words you've heard or the images you got. It's the silence speaking to you. Silence within you. You will speak the truth and say, get up and go.